Now, models are a lot more than just containers for data. Business logic can come in many forms. For example, we may want to limit titles to 20 characters. You may want screencast titles to be unique. Rails validations provide convenient ways to enforce these types of business rules. A couple of the validations validate uniqueness of title and validate length of title within 3 to 20. So these Rails methods provide model-level validation. Using the console, we can try out our newly added business rules. So let's see what this looks like. Using our console, let's try out our new validations. Let's first create a screencast that should be valid. And it is valid. And it'll save. Now let's create a screencast that should not be valid. It is not valid, and we can see why. We can see that the title attribute is too long. And if we try to save that, the save will fail. If we assign a shorter title, it is valid and it will save. Now, no matter how a new screencast instance is created, whether in the controller, in the console, or by another model class, the screencast data will be validated. This is one example of where business logic belongs in the model. These validations could be placed on a front-end form, for instance, but then those validations would need to be repeated if screencast records were created in other places. Rails validations make it easy to enforce these constraints at the model layer where they belong. The final feature of models I'd like to talk about is associations. Associations allow us to create relationships between two or more models. For instance, if we want to allow comments to be made on screencasts, here's how to do it. First, create our comment model. Because a comment will belong to a screencast, we need to give it a place to store the associated screencast ID. By convention, this is an integer with the name of the associated model, screencast, followed by _ID. Our comment will also have some text. So now we run the migration to create the supporting database table. Go to the newly created comment class and tell it that it belongs to a screencast. Go to the screencast and tell it that it has many comments. Now we can try it out in console. Let's get ourselves a screencast. And then give it a comment. There's our comment. We can see that there's one in there. We can create another one. Now we can see we have the first comment here, the second comment associated with it there. So I hope that introduction to Rails models has been helpful. This has been a ecommercedeveloper.com Ruby on Rails screencasts.